think that I just come in there and look for knockoffs, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who wants to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter beat me.
My goal is to demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all of the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. Man, it's a wonderful evening to talk boxing, man. And we got a special one, man. We got a special one, another DITD, Devil in the Details, with AC, man, and I think it's like number 3. And I'm excited about this one, man, and I'm just been thinking about boxing, man, and the landscape of boxing, man, and I just want to let everybody know out there, man, that when it comes to the real, man, we dealing with the last of the Mohicans, man. Only PSA that I'm going to put out there is this. The basis of this channel is silence is consent, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for men and women to remain silent. So when you don't say nothing, that means you're in agreement. And I see a lot of the times, man, especially culturally, right? We'll point the finger at how the man did this to us and we getting, mistreated and doing that. And then when we get in positions of power or influence, we turn around and do the same thing. Like if you look at Diddy, like where did he get that? That was like some of that, yeah, some weird stuff, but some of that was a learned behavior. So some of the things you see it in the music business as well, where you see an artist, they might have blew and had a meteoric rise, but they had bumps in the roads and they got pretty much their pockets raked. So then they start a label and then they, rake their artists over the coals. So it's like, man, some of my favorite people, man, some of my favorite people, or used to be my favorite people, man, they need some help. You know what I'm saying? They really need some help. It's kind of sad seeing some people in the state that they in now and how they going about things, man. And I never really try to be up on no soapbox. It's just our sport is in jeopardy, man. So we can't really be affording to be doing we can't really afford to be doing the same things that we point fingers and scoff at people and highlight. And that's part of the matrix that we in. You can't complain about like what the blue bloods of the world's doing and what, certain the chump sides. You can't complain about what these suckers is out here doing and then you're partaking and doing some of the same things, man. It's like and nobody's saying nothing, man. Nobody's saying nothing. Clickbaiting, making up things, gaslighting, none of that. Like, it's not cool no matter who's doing it. Have your fun and do your thing. You know what I'm saying? I just wish some people would just get back to the rare form that they were in. And I'm just me, man. So I appreciate everybody who still rock with me, man, and rock with the channel, man. And I'm not gonna change. Man. So I just wanted to put that out here, man, just to put you in the groove of how this matrix thing work. And I'm sure AC gonna bring it home. But with no further ado, we got AC in the building, man. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing real good, bro. overall, the projects that I'm working on outside the channel, I'm happy that I'm in the space I'm in. I'm happy with, you know, the overall outcome and the direction that everything is going in or flowing in. I I'm aware of certain things, but I'm also keeping certain things in mind. As far as yesterday, I just went back to see if the properties that I was looking at are still available and things like that, which they are, which I know they are based on the economy and everything. But overall, man, I'm just happy I'm in a good place. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to take, 48 hours for me to decompress, because I was, between looking at everything in boxing and, looking at working on the things that I'm working on, you wind up kind of getting into a rut, but it's not really a rut. It's more or less, it's a hard grind. And, that hard grind may have people on the outside or whatever may look at you in a different light, that, oh, you're being selfish. Are we running into like the same old, like what's really going on? We haven't been communicating away. And it's just the nature of the beast. The grind requires focus. And, that has to do with some of the things that we're talking about. We're going to talk about today, but overall, it's always good to just in the middle of it, just be selfish, because nobody's really going to tell you to take the time and just, take a couple of hours or take 2 days for you. I think you need it. I'm on the outside looking in, I'm watching you grind, and I just think you should, take a little whatever, even if they're on your side and rocking with you. It's a delicate situation, you know what I'm saying? Because a person may say, I ain't got time and I don't want you to offend me, and they may take it as though you're not really rocking with them if you're telling them to decompress. It's like, no, you have to decompress and be able to go back in and assess where you are and how you got there. So, that's basically where I'm at. And
yeah, that is, yeah, you do. You got to sit back and woo-saw, man. Yeah, you do. I learned that with my workout. I have been hitting it hard lately. And I said I was getting too small. I was slimming down way too much. And I said, okay, I got to cut what I was doing in half. But that also, the older you get, the more you got to rest. And rest is important in everything. So that's bars, man. But I'm going to let you, I know this is a good one. Cookie Monster say, mic check, 1 2 1 2, sounding crystal clear. Thank you, dear. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. But you want to get into the housekeeping now?
Yeah, I'll definitely get into it. And for the first one, I just want to put this out there. The housekeeping is a little bit different. What I want to do with this particular housekeeping is just give you a different perspective, because we're in an age of perception is reality. So what you perceive, it may be real to you, and it all depends. That's a plus and negative. That perception is reality is we're perceiving Oshaki's going for greatness. Everything he's doing is showing us that he's going for greatness. So I have to perceive and accept that the fact that he's going for greatness unless he shows me something different. So the perception of is reality argument has two different sides. It's a double-edged sword. It's a positive and negative. But in this case, we're just going to explore all aspects of it. And the first one is ignorance is bliss. That's an old saying. I grew up hearing it. I don't know how popular it is today in the .com era, but in my era growing up, ignorant is bliss had a hell of a statement, because hip hop was coming out, and there was the challenges of guys in hip hop, are they real men, and yada yada yada. And between those people who knew and can hear, that this was a whole different form of communication, they chose to stay ignorant to it and just try to bash it. Even some of the greatest entertainers had their moments where they was trying to bash hip hop, and then therefore they turned and made a 360 to where they started to try to steal from it. And basically in the space of boxing, we have these situations where, you know, we call it gaslighting, we call it cat, we call it all of these different new age terms, but it all comes down to the one thing: I'm feeding you what you want, and that is that blissful ignorance. That's why you tune into my channel. That's why you send me the donations and the cash apps and channels like Bodywork that's 10 toes down on integrity and trying to bring honesty to you and just give you a different assessment in a world that he's not a part of. He doesn't make fights. He's not a lawyer. He's just a fan of the sport, and he loves the sport, so he tries to bring you that. I myself co-host because I rock with that same mentality, that same ambition. But at the end of the day, we will not feed you that ignorance, and you will not be at bliss on this channel consuming ignorance. This is not the channel they hear like he uses the example of saying, you know, the Papoose and Clarissa situation, the messy shit. You know, there are boxing channels that say we want to deal with boxing, but they only want to deal with the messy shit. Because just the other day, I was in a debate with who does David Benavidez fight next, and the whole thing about Ja Obitaya. And we were talking about, I was trying to introduce a path for Ja Obitaya if Obitaya really wants that fight. It doesn't have to happen now. It still can happen as long as he's at cruiserweight. And there is a significant path, but he's not talking about it, nor is anybody on his side talking about it. But the dudes we were so into it, dudes was like, why y'all, you know, dudes on the panels like, why y'all want to talk about fights that's not happening just now? And, you know, I just want to get back into the drama of, you know, is Shakur ducking based on this? And it's like, listen, to go with the whole ducking argument, that's been settled. I'm just talking about what's a path for a good fighter. You want to stay in that willful ignorance of just dealing with, you know, the salaciousness of boxing, who said what, who tweeted what, who called who pussy or bum or anything like that, bro. That's for you. Me, I'm just trying to have a substantial boxing conversation. And you get channels out here that basically will out and out lie. That's the best word, and that's the only word you can use. Now, it's not somewhat of an egregious lie, but it's a white lie enough that you could say, wow, you really doing that. And anybody who takes part of a false narrative, you're part of the you know, blissful ignorance that's being perpetuated across YouTube. In the fact that the narrative doesn't explain the context. It doesn't explain the details. It's just what everybody goes with. Right now, the narrative is, should Shakur Stevenson be number one pound for pound? Is he the best boxer in boxing right now? That is a narrative because he hasn't done anything to actually show us that. And the blissful ignorance is the channels that post it like this within their title. They'll say, Shakur Stevenson dominates Teofimo Lopez on his path to greatness. Is Shakur Stevenson one of the greats? And then they'll put the exclamation point and the question mark. And then they'll tell you, now we'll get into the details. They set you up to have you open your mind, because the leading thing that was somewhat misleading is the dominant performance over Teofimo Lopez. If I choose not to fight back in a way that has me competitive, was your performance dominant? I chose to, and that's the word I'm using. I want people to understand the key words I'm using. I chose to not fight to my ability. So was your performance dominant? We saw to the casuals, it may have been a dominant performance. But leading up to the fight, we heard the talking points. We heard the hyperbole behind Shakur Stevenson, and we heard what people were saying about Teofimo Lopez, which Teo was going to show up. So that's a caveat, and then, oh, that's the built-in excuse. Then the built-in excuse showed its face not to be built in, but an actual reality. So then, here we go. The blissful ignorance. Shakur Stevenson is now on the same level as Floyd Mayweather, Terrence Crawford. Yes, Crawford passed the torch to Shakur by setting him up to get the Tio fight. You see how this blissful ignorance keeps working its magic? And people turn around and they have 2-3 hour cooks on this shit. And people pull up on the panel like, yeah, you know, I've been a Shakur fan since day one. And I know everything about Shakur. I know Shakur's dentist. I know where Shakur goes and does food shopping. I know the first 3 places Shakur used to wash his dirty socks. But then you say, all right, then who was the first guy Shakur beat to become champion? I don't know that off the top of my head right now, but that's something I just got to look up. But all of this other bullshit, that's irrelevant to what he does or who he is or his brand. Interesting. Blissful fucking idiot, bro. That's what you are. You are in your ignorance and you are happy about it. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that shit is kind of, it's kind of, the best word I could say is, it's not manly. It's vagina-like. It's pussy. And then when someone challenges you, you get all itchy and swollen to the point where I may suggest, you know what, somebody get this motherfucker some Vagisil. Because right now, he ain't it right now. You doing too much. So just with that, with just that whole area where people want to be blissfully, stupid and blissfully ignorant, there's the channels that produce that, and they get the big bucks, and they know what the hell they pushing. And at the end of the day, I can keep thinking of all of these different words, but you just keep showing me new layers. It's an onion that it's an infinity onion. That's the best way I can describe it, because no matter how many layers, you keep showing me something new that you're willing to go here, and you're willing to take it here, just to keep your audience intact. And then these people, this shit spreads and someone says some dumb shit on the panel, and you just look at them like, how did you come to that conclusion? Where did you come? How does that work for you? So that's just something that's across the board with all of social media right now. This drive to be, within a blissful ignorance. And I'm just not, I'm going to be the person that call it out, whether, you like it or not. And I'm not being disrespectful to you. I'm just telling you your state of being. The second one is something that me and Body talked about prior to this, and it was the great indicators, or the great indicator. How do you know when the fighter's really there? Or how do you know when the champ is really there? And that's the champ that's a champ, that's really doing those champ-like things, that's showing everybody within his attitude, within his demeanor, within every part of him. He's showing you that, yeah, I'm championship quality. I'm a throwback fighter. As this new era in boxing, we keep saying the throwback fighter. I'm a throwback fighter. Like before, everybody used to want the throwback jerseys. So now, people want to be the throwback fighter. And you got some guys who are really the throwback fighter, win, lose, or draw. And then you got some of these guys who are pretending. You know what I'm saying? So within that space, we look at it like this. There's a guy that's down at 35, right? This guy, people criticize him. They criticize his movement. They criticize everything about this man. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at it, the indicators show that within this era, and you talk about the 4 kings, and within this era, there's only one dude There was actually only one king, because this one king, people he fought, whether you won, uh, whether you lost, got knocked out, or it was a draw, fighting this guy made you a star. Fighting this guy got you a push to whereas you got championship opportunities after that, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then people were asking, well, how does he keep getting all of this? Well, take it back, because he fought him. That was the man right there. That's the money man. That's the guy the business knows about. The business of boxing. When people say you don't know shit about boxing, you don't know the business of boxing. Well, the business of boxing told me that it's this dude. Because we looked at a card recently where 3 people he beat was on the same card fighting for belts or defending a belt. That is an indicator of a great champion, a great talent. I brought up Abdullah Mason, or I brought up Morataya, just the clash between them two, just between the clash, because these 2 fighters chose to fight each other at that time. No ducking, no one guy in his prime, one guy out of his prime. No, both of them in terms of boxing, where they, at the time they met, it was a great fight. And that was Morataya versus Cruz. And they both got the plus out of it. You know, so the indicators of being a champion are how you make champions. Are you making other champions? Are people that fight you, even if they're not there, are they getting championship quality, championship fights? Frank Martin, let's look at it like this. If Frank Martin had fought Shakur and still lost, or whatever the case may be, possibly pulled a draw with him, you know, would that have resonated as much as Frank Martin getting stopped by Tank and then the performance Frank Martin had with Albright? We don't know, because the fight didn't happen. But I can say this. Frank Martin's first fight after Tank, moving up to 140, he looked very good, very impressive, which lets you know, had the weight been different, had the rehydration been different, we might have had a more interesting fight. You know what I'm saying? Look at Lamont Roach. You know, so within that space, for me, and this is why I kind of brought it up before, was that's one of the things that I say, who's a great fighter? I may not like you, but I have to respect the fact that when you get in the ring and people fight you and they put up a good showing, even if they're stopped or whatever, they become a star. There's a plus, you know, there's a real plus minus factor. The minus is I lost, but the plus is I gained popularity within the fans. Maybe because the fans hate him that much. Maybe, I don't know what it is. I can't actually put my finger on it. But I know what I'm looking at. And I know what I'm looking at every time I see one of these fighters at that level who are creating other champions or creating another boxing personality, someone that we say we got to keep an eye on. Look at this guy, because that's what happened. We thought that was going to happen with Boots, and we probably could have put Boots in that category when it came down to Quran. You went 24 rounds with Quran. People were like, yo, Quran, I need to see Quran versus yada yada and yada yada. People wanted to see Quran. There was a thirst to see how this dude fared against you, Boots, because it shows you have that potential, bruh, but you're not taking advantage of it. So within that champion indicator, or the great indicator, it's okay. Quran had his chance. It didn't pan out for you, and it didn't age well because Quran got beat the fuck up in his next fight and didn't look impressive. Maybe that's the layoff, or maybe it was 1 or 2 fights after the fact. But it just didn't resonate with Quran. So then we're now back to questioning Boots. Virgil Ortiz and Boachuk. You know, Virgil gets the win. We felt that he lost. Boachuk becomes a star to those who are like, whoa, what's going on? I want to see more Boachuk. But then we know about this other dude who beat him. And then they get in the ring again and he beats the shit out of him. Now we're questioning Virgil all over again. Like, whoa, okay, what the hell is going on here? So there's those dynamics where it works, and there's those dynamics where it don't work. But overall, when you look at Abdullah versus Sam Noakes, they both got something out of that fight. They both got an amazing push out of that fight. Abdullah said, listen, I'm going to out Sam Noakes at what Sam Noakes does. And there was nothing wrong with that. That's what the competitor does. That's what the greats do. They find somebody that's a tough challenge. It may be considered a step up to a young fighter, and you beat that guy at his game. Yeah, there was an easy way out, just to go out there and box him and control him by distance and stuff like that. But do you get the indicator that says, yes, this dude is there? We're gonna give you the eye test, like, yeah, he beat him, and that's all you're gonna get is the eye test. But the indicator, you beat him at his own game. Now we want to see more of Sam Noakes. All Sam Noakes got to do is go on a winning streak, and that shit's gonna age well. So that's pretty much that indicator. I know nobody's gonna bring in his take on it and everything, because that within itself, I don't want to go too deep on it, because that is literally a whole show. So if that's something we decide on later to really cook on that aspect, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it or get too detailed in it, because I'd rather leave that for the full 2-hour cook instead of just giving it, 5 or 6 minutes of conversation. The last one, Body had texted me when I put it, and he said, that's stipple you put there? And I was like, yeah, because for an artist, stipple is a technique. And it's something that, has a great relations to something Bodywork always says here. He puts stakes in the ground. Stipple is the same thing. It's basically a picture that's drawn by dots and clusters of dots. The thing about stipple is, you can start a picture. I wanna draw a face, but I'm gonna use the stipple technique. Once you have an eyebrow and basically an eyelid, I know that's gonna be a face. I know it's gonna be a human face or a human-like face. So do I have to wait around to see the whole thing? Yeah, because I wanna see the finished product, but I know the direction you're going in. And that's the thing, that's the secret sauce right there. When we're looking at things and we're calling things and we're right on top of it and we're dealing with it in real time, this is stipple. We grabbed our pen and we're like, yo, we're just gonna start marking all of these dots. Boom, 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 boom. Some of them may be clusters, some may be spread out. Some may be darker than others because the way the information comes in. But at the end of the day, we start to see a picture. And it's like, oh shit, do you see that? Yeah. Yeah, I see it clearly too. There are people that pull up to the panel that see the same picture that we see. That's basically universal confirmation, because I didn't talk to you about it. I don't even have your number, but you came to the same conclusion that I did. So that stipple effect, we're close. All we see is dots. All you see is little talking points. But once you step back, now you see the whole entire picture. And you can see where this picture is going to take format and where it's going. And you're going to say, all right, that's a male face, that's a female face, whatever the case may be. But you already know. And you just like, yeah, now it's just time to ride this out. And in between, I'm still going to be adding in more detail to this facial, like shadows, soft shading, highlights. Where is my light source coming from? So that's the thing, that how my mind works. Body says stakes in the ground. For me, it's more because I see things as an artist. To me, the easiest way I could recognize it as the artistic technique of stipple. The boxing, the business of boxing, puts these dots down. You could see it within the rankings. You can see it within the way the media, the mainstream media, is covering it. You can see it in the way the publications are talking about it. You can see it within, Ring Magazine doing their televised thing, and they have the panel up there and they're talking, and then they always have the guest guy to talk about something that's on the horizon or something that just passed. So if we're watching the tea leaves and looking at the different stars, you can kind of see who's up next and who's the next piece that's in play. And all you have to do is look at things, but at the same time, keep in mind to step back so you can see the big picture. Because if you lose focus of the big picture, then you just get caught up in the details and nothing makes sense. Then you start trying to find narratives and conspiracy theories because you think there's something within this. No, it's right there. The details are even right there because you can clearly see what's dark is dark, what's light is light. That's the way I see it. And at the end of the day, it keeps me grounded because I'm always looking at it through the eyes of perception is reality, and not everything that I see is exactly what it is or what it's meant to be. And that's why for most intellects or most people who have a great understanding, there's a good level of skepticism when new information comes out. Okay, the new information comes out, I'm looking at it, let me assess it, let me not be the first to try to drop it and things like that. What I'll do is I'll read the room for a little bit. I'll read the room. And when I read the room, that lets me, I can actually see who's the artist, who's doing the stippling, who's painting the picture. So with that being said, bro, that's pretty much the housekeeping for me. Anything you wanted to add on, Body?
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with the great housekeeping, man. I was I'm a mental person, man. Mental stimulation, man. Boxing conversation is not really doing it. It's a couple channels like Crush. I always give him a shout out, man, and he do it. He get me through the mornings when I get a chance to tune in. But boxing conversations is not doing it, and I was just sitting back, just taking notes and mental notes more so. But I took a couple notes, and I never knew that term, And I wish I could draw. I could do a little something, but I ain't gonna call myself an artist in that way. I was more always a person that was an artist with words, like whether it was motivational speaking, making music, writing hooks, writing lyrics, poems, writing books. I've published a book. I'm an author, of many years. But I've never knew that terminology, man, and that's what's up, man. I learned something. I looked it up after you sent it. I was like, did he spell it right? Or I was like, okay, so I looked it up and I said, okay. That's why I came up with the little emojis that I came up with. But it goes with the analogy, man. If you out there in life, man, and sometimes things get rough for you and they get tough for you, I always say it's something almost in the same vein of this concept when I'm dealing with something. And it's called the pebble in the eye mentality. If you take a small pebble and you hold it up to your eye, it'll overshadow everything. Everything in the horizon, everything out in front of you. But if you take and extend your arm and you realize, like, this is just a small pebble. And this is what's going on in boxing. It's almost like being on the dance floor. You just run up in there and you just in the middle of the dance floor and anything that's moving or whatever, you just jumping behind whatever, just caressing whatever. But if you take a step back, you just pause and then you look and see, okay, who's all on this dance floor? What's really going on? And that's what we try to do with boxing. We don't just take these small pebbles that they put that's overshadowing everything, because it's always there. It's glaring. It's being forced. It's being shoved. You know, you're being driven. Like, it's almost like good dope sell itself. You know what I'm saying? And like, you getting all this people just running up to you. Hey, they got this dirt, they got that dirt, I got that real, and you know, here, take it by. I'm telling you, and last time, and this, you ain't gotta do all of that. So in boxing, if you just take a step back, extend your arm and look at the pebble and say, oh man, they throwing these little rocks, man. Okay, that's what this is about, and look at the big picture, then you'll be more in line with how we see boxing, or how we try to see boxing. I try not to get caught up in the small things. I'm looking at the bigger picture, like where are we going? Like, where is boxing gonna be in the next 3 years, 5 years? Like, is our sport dying? And I'm like, man, that shit is getting anemic. It's getting anemic, but I like that terminology. As far as stipple, as far as the great indicator, man, that is a whole that's a whole show. Because I'm looking at it like, okay, you know, a lot of people made excuses for Lil Ray Ray, you know, and people was asking, is he still a savage? Because I mean, you know, I actually beat up a dude when I was in the Army. His last name was Savage. That shit was funny as hell. But I'm like, he ain't a savage no more, you know. But they was wondering whether or not he can still be called savage, and I said, man, that was somebody else's stuff. They presented, that's not mine. I heard that somewhere else. It's not mine. But I was thinking, man, that's kind of funny, man. And I'm like, man, is he a savage? Because, you know, he didn't get savage. He got his ass savagely tossed out the ring, and he didn't even catch himself, you know. But to move forward, because I said Ray was in my boxing to watch, and I said, man, I the same thing, man. It's almost like we called it down to the T. We said it was gonna come down to Oshaki's, the level of competition. He fought top 5 competitions since 2020, and it's gonna boil down to his plus minus ratio. And I also put out there that in the last 5 fights, if you compare him to the guy that he's actually chasing, his plus minus ratio, he's killing it. So all these sweet scientist guys and all this, whatever, that's why I know people don't really care about boxing. But the great indicator is, okay, what is Ray gonna do after this? Because Ray lost to Nick Ball. Nick Ball went and got stopped by Figueroa. You know, but Figueroa lost to Fortune. Oshaki washed him. That's one. I was thinking about another guy in a way, because I've been thinking about these different champs and what have they gone on and did, because I was thinking about David Benavidez. Okay, well, David Morrell, you know, he put up a good competition, but he just got stopped by Europeans. So I'm like, okay, what's the indicator? And I'm looking at these different boxes like, who? This is just a real question. Who has the same effect, like the tank effect? Like, who has the same tank effect in this era where it's like not just one weight class, but 2 weight classes? Where these guys that went up 1 weight class and got another belt and went up another weight class. Even with Pedraza, people are still cutting their teeth, getting the name off of Pedraza. And I can argue that he ain't been the same since Tank knocked, you know what I'm saying, damn near broke his neck, you know, back then. But people still was using them. But I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, what about Inoue? Well, it was one guy that came to mind. His name is Emmanuel Rodriguez. And one of the Russell brothers, Antonio Russell, the least talked about guy, one, because he's not as active and he's down there at the smaller weight. I remember a while ago, he was calling for Inoue. He got in there with Emmanuel Rodriguez, and man, he did my guy Antonio bad, man. But he got stopped to the body, was in excruciating pain by Inoue. So I'm like, when I'm looking at it, Brian Norman, I was like, okay, with Devin, who did Devin? Because what fighter did Devin fight where they went on to go ahead and get lit? Because the other guy, they fought, Moritalia fought him for an eliminator. Moritalia washed him, the guy that Devin got knockout of the year on, right? But he fought Moritalia, got washed. I'm looking at Brian Norman, and everybody's like shitting on Brian Norman now, where they don't even think he could beat Keyshawn. And I'm like, this great indicator. Okay, so because he lost, the lights got too big, and Brian Norman lost that fight. Surprisingly, he lost the fight to Devin, but a lot of people saw it. Me, I didn't really see it like that. I didn't know my man was gonna put his hands in his pockets, but I'm like, okay, what's gonna be the great indicator? Because when you look at these resumes, who has had the Tank effect? And this is not me being no fanboy, no yes man, no, because you see, I barely even do videos about him, but I'm like, who else can fight a guy? Because think about the publicity of Hollywood Roach. He went to a draw. And they even say without the knockdown. I'm like, was it really a knockdown? It's like the man took a step back. You know what I'm saying? He took 2 step backs. It was a pause, and then he just took a knee, and then he ran over to the ropes. It's like, was that a knockdown? But because of that, in the draw, this man name up in light. They want to see this man fight everybody. Who else in this current time? Don't take it the fact that, okay, I live in Baltimore and that I'm a Tank fan. Do not, like, set all that to the side. Who else has had this many people? Frank Martin, Pitbull Cruz, Ryan, Rolly, who else? Hector Garcia, he got a little lit for a second, but he wound up losing Lamont Roach. But who has had Mario Barrios? Like, who has had that effect? Whereas that indicator says, okay, after you fight me, you put up a good showing, win, lose, draw, get knocked out. Because 93.33% of the time, you're getting your ass knocked out. Be in his right state of mind, and you know what I'm saying, whatever. You 93 point. Don't argue with me. You know what I'm saying? Argue with the data. The data say 93.33% of the time he knocking your ass out. And people have gone up not 1 division, but 2 divisions. And Ryan's claim to fame right now with getting a belt off of Mario Barrios, he stopped them both. It was the stoppage bowl, body stoppage bowl. And nobody give that guy credit. But they're shitting on Brian Norman, saying he's not even worthy for a Keyshawn. That made me look at Keyshawn. I'm like, okay, well, at 35, who did he fight? These guys that was undersized. A guy that he fought Baranchek fought Navarrete for a vacant. Navarrete was moving up. Navarrete ain't shit at 35. Baranchek beat the shit out of him. Keyshawn beat him. He beat a Gustavo Lemos when he, you know what I'm saying? He beat a Gustavo Lemos. But at 35, he got a belt. I think he defended it, lost. He got a belt, defended it, blew the scales. You know what I'm saying? When he's supposed to fight De Los Santos. He moves up. He fights fights Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz, you know, I guess good professional. Him and Tio didn't show up the way we thought they would. They fought abnormal, if you ask me. They did not fight in the style or the manner that they normally fight in. And I'm gonna touch on that when I go back to the very first point what you were talking about with Shakur. But in this instance, Keyshawn had got a title off of Baranchek. Defended it, blew the scales, lost it, went up to 40. He get a Jermaine Ortiz. Now he get a Jermaine Ortiz, and then he runs it back. Didn't even knock out Nair Albright, who claimed the fame was going the distance with him in the first fight, and then putting up a good performance against Frank Martin, where he almost stopped Frank Martin, if I'm gonna be honest, if the mouthpiece wouldn't have came out. But after those 2 fights at 140, he can go up and be number 1. He don't have a belt. He can go up and be number 1. He could be number 1 at welterweight. That just shits on everything Brian Norman did. Like, Brian Norman didn't go against the ringer. Like, Brian Norman didn't have to go over to California and crumple a dude. Like, Brian Norman didn't stop a motherfucker with a jab. Like, Brian Norman didn't have the knockout of the year with Jin Sasaki in a foreign country. But because he loses on points and setting an all-time minimum, like a minimum for him and Devin, they set Devin threw 70 punches in that fight. They saying he's not worthy, but where's the effect? Where's the indicator? Which fighter on any of these guys, Shakur, Devin, Keyshawn, any of these guys that they done fought them who went on and had what Tank has in the effect of what happens when you fight Tank and the success that they have after? None of them, and that's just being honest as an analyst. So this can go on for days, but I mean, we can look at all these great champions and who went on to go do what and whatever. But like that was a great segment. But to end it off, when you started off by saying that the ignorance, the blissful ignorance or whatever, like, man, we are trapped in that right now because so many people, I guess because it's popular, you know, it's almost like when the Lakers was winning, or when, you know, when Jordan was on top and the Bulls, you know, was doing their thing. It's like, or when the Seattle Seahawks came out of nowhere and they had the 12th man, it was all these bandwagoners, and it's like, you know, just to have to talk and feel like you're part of the team and all this. Well, this is boxing. There's one man that get in the ring, he got a corner, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's all on their shoulders. And that's why a lot of them choose that sport. But I just recall, because I don't want to get this twisted. I'm not minimizing T.O. I always say he was the most accomplished. I think that he didn't get a fair shake because he really got undisputed before Devin. You know, he beat Lomachenko before Devin, but Devin get more competition. You know, it's just like with Devin and Gamboa. They act like, oh yeah, man, you know he beat Gamboa, but he came off of a stop it with Tank, stopped this guy in like the 11th round right before that. You know what I'm saying? But he gets Tank don't get no credit for Gamboa. It's the same thing with T.O. But I remember watching Top Rank, all those shows, and what they used to do. They used to do this little demo, this little demonstration, and they made a little roller coaster. They had a little roller coaster thing and everything when they were saying, well, which T.O. It's almost like Jay Cutler, good Jay Cutler and bad Jay Cutler, the quarterback, you know what I'm saying, the talented quarterback who never really panned out for Chicago. They used to say, okay, good, this is good Jay Cutler, this is bad Jay Cutler. They did the same rollout on T.O. and they were saying, okay, man, he's a roller coaster. Which T.O. is going to show up, to AC's point? Is it going to be this T.O. or is it going to be that T.O.? It's not our fault that the T.O., the down one, not the one that was at the top of the, you know what I'm saying, the roller coaster getting ready to go down, not the high riser, not the guy that fought, you know, Loma, not the guy that fought, that got all the way up for Josh Taylor. That guy didn't show up. It was the guy that showed up against Jermaine Ortiz. It was the guy that showed up against Steve Claggett. Like, so I'm not taking away from him, but like, we gotta consider that. I'm not taking away from what he did. You know what I'm saying? It's no easy feat to be a 4th-division champ, so I'm not shitting on Shakur at all in that manner. Just anybody can't do it, because if anybody could do it, everybody would be doing it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, to AC's point, when it came down to that fight, you got to judge, okay, how did the fighter fight? Like Jermaine Ortiz and him getting stopped. People saying that they would say, oh man, Keyshawn knocked out Jermaine Ortiz. I'm like, the emphasis y'all putting on, it's like he hit the man to the body late and the man just didn't get up. And he didn't fight the whole fight the way he would normally fight. He's a technician. He didn't fight that way. He didn't fight the way he fought when he was fighting T.O. and all them. But it's gonna sound like I'm shitting on these guys because these guys didn't show up. And that's not an excuse I'm making for them. It's just an observation of what I'm making of them. And as far as just to close it all the way out, man, that little thing you said, man, about how these ninjas is pussy, man, get these guys some -7 because they irritated. You know what I'm saying? And then whenever you bring up these kind of points, it's almost like, man, what's going on? You swollen and itchy. You need some -. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could take care of that. You know what I'm saying? Just. But yeah, good housekeeping, bro.
And now to get into the actual meat and potatoes of everything, because there's no alternatives to what you said. I'm in agreement and things like that. So if we move into the meat and potatoes of it, it still has to do with the basic thing that I opened up with, and that is perception is reality, and the first point of ignorant is bliss. Now, this is one of those things to whereas if you look at this topic right now, this Zuffa steak though, and you know, you remember that iconic scene in the Matrix movie and stuff like that, where old boy portrays Neo and the entire civilization of Zion, or the human race. You say to yourself, okay, yeah, now I understand the perspective, because this is lining me up to understand that what we looking at is not selling itself as what it is. Because here's the crazy part. When I first came across everything that me and Malazar, and I keep going back to that, to big shout outs to Malazar and everything. To when we had our debate, Malazar came out before we had our debate, and he was saying that the biggest problem with things is the UBOs, right? Now, prior to this, when you Googled UBO and boxing, it would give you maybe 5 or 6 of them, including the same type of UBO that the sanctioning bodies use, but that UBO is connected to the federal government in a different manner than the way the other UBOs operate. But that's no longer there. Now it just gives you one definition. And I tried 3 different ways to look at it, but all 3 different ways came down to giving me one particular explanation. And it's basically this. In boxing, the UBO stands for Universal Boxing Organization. It is a recognized global sanctioning body that crowns male and female champions in various weight classifications and regional tiers, providing opportunities for boxers to compete for titles outside of the traditional major 4 belt system. So you kind of was like, okay, that may be explaining in the beginning the actual thing that the other sanctioning bodies do. They provide champions with this thing, they're globally recognized, and yada, yada, yada. So then once you get into the details of it, the details then go to something that's like, hey, wait a minute. And it says like the UBO is founded in 2004, the Universal Boxing Organization operates globally, sanctioning world, continental, and international and youth titles, unlike the major sanctioning bodies, the WBC, WBA, IBF, or WBO. The UBO specifically focuses on helping up and coming boxers, lesser known fighters, and smaller scale promoters achieve championship recognition without charging exorbitant sanctioning fees. Now, these words that they're using, and this is just using Google AI. And what I'm trying to express here is this wasn't written like this before. It's written in a way that's trying to tell you, if you actually Google it, it's written in a way that's telling you that no, the sanctioning bodies are the problem, because what the UBO does, the UBOs go all the way back to youth boxing. These youth programs in boxing and stuff like that. To a certain degree, yes. To a certain degree, hell no. You feel what I'm saying? Because the amateurs are amateurs. You're not a professional. So right. A UBO organization works for the amateurs. But when you get to the professional level, the professional levels need to have the ability to negotiate for themselves and things like that. That's why the UBO works for the amateurs, but it doesn't work for the professionals, because if it did work for the professionals, we wouldn't have the Muhammad Ali Act. These UBOs, which is now Zuffa, is a UBO. So Zuffa is out to do what they're doing, to do what they're trying to achieve. And being the promoter, being the sanctioning body, and everything else. They want to control everything as if this was an amateur boxing joint. But you're dealing with professional fighters who have made millions, who have a brand. So when you look at these fighters and these fighters signed to a UBO, knowing how these UBOs operate, or what they're telling the government and everyone else how they operate, based on their own description of themselves, you would say to yourself, what would make a person like Obatiah, Berlanga, Hitchens, Shakur Stevenson, Conor Benn, and many of the other fighters, a possible Devin Haney, until we hear confirmation. You got these 6 names. Like, what would make you do that? What would make you leave the professional side of business to go back to the amateurs. You are saying to yourself, I want to go to the B leagues. That's Jordan at the height of winning 3 rings, saying, you know what? I'm going back to the amateurs. I'm gonna go to the CBA or whatever it is, the European League, and I know it's a lesser league and things like that, but the money's good. They're willing to pay me more money. But bro, you already got 3 rings. Yeah, but you know, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with the media and everything else. Like I can't even think of an excuse to say that would make a professional want to remove himself from that space. And that's where we're looking at it and saying, okay, how good does that Zuffa steak taste? How good does that shit taste that you're willing to give up all your leverage to be relegated back into an amateur situation and then say, you know what, it was about the money. Eddie Hearn told y'all they're willing to pay these guys 5 times what they worth. And when you pay a guy 5 times what he's worth, who does he fight? And if Eddie Hearn can make that grand observation, the beans is spilled. Eddie Hearn knows what he's talking about in this situation because he's lost 2 fighters to Zuffa. One, Conor Benn. The other one, he was just working with Shakur Stevenson. People can't say, well, no, he was an independent. And listen, it doesn't matter. He was working with that dude. And there is another link that's connected to this, that's concerning this guy, Shakur Stevenson. Because this has to be, I'd probably say, the 2nd or 3rd time. Whereas shit got thick for him, and he's either changed promotional companies or claimed retirement. In one instance, when he was claiming retirement, there were contracts. We found out later there were contracts with where the fighters, the B side, had signed their name or term sheets, whatever, however people want to get technical and call it. That there were deals lined up, that the other fighter was on board to face Shakur Stevenson when he was talking about he's retiring. That was real. Then you retired. Then it's, you know, I'm not getting the fights I want. It's a reset. When it came to the fight getting close and everyone's, you know, chammering about, yo, this Tank shit gotta happen. Well, Loma walked away. Shakur's on deck. Shakur, yo, listen, Tank better make the fight. And that was the crazy part. Tank better make the fight. Shakur needs to come to the table and want to fight. That's the other part. You know, but Tank had to make the fight, even if Shakur don't want to fight. So, with that being said, in that vein, what did he do? Bob told him, me and Body discussed it. 6-fight deal, 18 million. We knew, we surmised some of these names got to be there because these are some of the same names that were there when you were talking about retiring. So boom. Yeah, now he ducks out of that, goes over, gets out of Top Rank. You're talking with this guy. Get out of Top Rank, then you go sign with Eddie. Tell Eddie, nah, don't try to make the fight. After that, now you with Eddie. It's getting thick with Oshaki. It's getting thick with some of the other people that people say, you know, you should be fighting, like a Gary Antoine Russell. Big shout out to Tim Bradley for bringing his name up as a possible real-time opponent for him, because neither one of them got anything on the table. So there's Gary Russell. Shit's got real thick for you at 140. What do you do in terms of watching Mr. Shakur Stevenson and how he moves and why we are always on Shakur Stevenson's neck? It's because then he goes and signs with Zuffa. Eddie Hearn could have made any one of those fights you wanted. Any one of those names that are on the table, Eddie Hearn could have easily made it. Eddie Hearn's been making amazing fights, cross-promotional fights. There is a chart between Eddie Hearn and Top Rank, and guess who's been beating Eddie Hearn's ass? Top Rank. So at the end of the day, we see a pattern with you, bruh. Now you over there in Zuffa, in the safe land. You know, in the kingdom of Zuffa. You know, that shit is like the Japanese animated Titans. There's all of these fighters that want to get at you, that these big dudes, they the Titans. You built the wall and Zuffa built that wall. That, you know, many of the smaller Titans can't get over and get around. You need one of those colossal Titans, you know, to get around that wall. And that wall represents Zuffa. You put yourself out there, and any other fighter that's putting himself out there knows what Zuffa is bringing to the table. You've already had examples. And it's not what y'all think it is, because both Richardson Hitchens and Obatiah relinquished their belts. Conversation was Hitchens before he dropped his belt. He was talking about going to Zuffa. He signs with Zuffa, he leaves his belt, then he's talking about 47. To make it seem and give the talking point that, no, he didn't drop the belt to go to Zuffa. He dropped it because he was going up to 47. Well, here's the thing. At 140, I get it where we're dealing with the IBF, and the IBF is a finite time. They give you either 6 to 9 months, then you got to deal with your mandatory. The crazy thing was, when it came down to Ammo Williams versus Carlos Adames, we saw the heartbreaking picture where Eddie Hearn had to go in there and he was talking to Ammo while Ammo was getting ready. And you see Ammo drop his head, you see him drop his arms, Eddie Hearn give him a hug and all of that other stuff. What happens 3 months later? We didn't hear about it. Nobody was talking about it. We thought Ammo was fucked up. Eddie Hearn made that fight happen. So why couldn't you do something within the same scope? Contact the IBF. No, our fighter was truly ill. What we're asking for is an extension. Give us the 3 months. If he doesn't fight within that 3 months, or the fight, you know, the fight is already made. We're just asking for a different date. If he doesn't fight, boom, you could blah, 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 strip him, give this guy the opportunity to fight for the belt that he was just stripped of. There were so many different ways. Eddie Hearn, I'm not even going to say Eddie Hearn, but I believe, you know, Hitchens people and everyone involved knew that there was a workaround in that situation. But he didn't take that opportunity. He got the fuck up out of Dodge, which then that perception is reality thing kicks in to say, well, the way you move, bro, it looked like you were scared, and it looked like you just ducked that man. So that's pretty much that. And that's where I'm gonna land it right now, because I know I said a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because you know, I was watching some things today and engaging in the chat, and it's crazy because that same thing with Tank and Shakur, how, you know, when Steven Espinosa, don't take our word for it, go back and listen to what Steven Espinosa said. He said, yeah, you know, Shakur was looking for more like a multi-fight deal. We was more talking about, you know, a one-fight thing. It's like Bill, according to Bill, they're doing the same thing. They saying that, nope, if either I want, and I seen this biggest knee pad wearing fan, I don't know how I got the alert, but the biggest Devin Haney knee pad wearing fan came out there and was saying it's either both of them or neither of them. And then Bill doubled down in devastating fashion and was basically saying, yeah, we'll fight Keyshawn, but we need them both. So he need them both to be able to sign a deal just to fight Keyshawn. But they're not going to fight one without the other. And then he later came on and said, well, look, truth be told, we already in negotiations with Shakur. But if you want us to fight Keyshawn first, then you're going to have to guarantee that we can fight both of them. And I'm like, you know, just the double standard thing once again. And I'm just like, well, that don't even make no sense. Like, where's the accountability for you all to have to bet on yourself? And the bottom line, to answer your question, AC, is Eddie Hearn said it in the clip. It was over there on Cam J when I first seen the clip. I like to give credit. I saw it on Cam J that day when I jumped on the panel and he was putting up his clip. He put up the clip, and Eddie was basically saying, "Yeah, I mean, you know, Zuffa's willing to pay these guys 5 times the amount that anybody else is willing to pay." And Eddie does this all the time. Like, so when he's doing it's okay, and when he's messing up the market and he's doing his little shenanigans and messing with US boxers, even though, you know, his interest is really across the pond, nobody really wants to acknowledge that. But, you know, look at what he's done with all our stars that he's procured from over here and took over there. And I called it, even back when I used to actually fuck with Chump side, I got up there and I said, listen, man, Eddie's priority is across the pond. It's not over here. But he does have a hell of an eye for a talent. If you look at some of the guys, he got Bam, he got Ray Ford, he got Boots, he got Devin, he got he picked up Subriel, he picked up Tito Mercado and let him go. He picked up Richardson Hitchens when he was over there on TMT Island, shipwrecked without a fight. He picked up Jaleel Hackett when he got shipwrecked over there with TMT. He can spot some talent. Now, what he do with him? That's different. Like, it's all eyes on Boots right now. You know what I'm saying? But Boots could have easily been over there with he could have easily went over there with PBC and pretty much already been like, if he was really gonna be the man, we would at least seen him in the fights that would have actually told us that he's absolutely the man right now. We would have already saw it. But the track record with Eddie, long story short, Eddie said they paying him Zuffa's paying these guys 5 times the market value. Like in any other business, man, that'll fuck up any other business. Like, if let's just say the people that deliver your food, DoorDash. If DoorDash start paying like their drivers, the people that deliver the food, 5 times what these other places like Instacart and all these other places, you know, that'll fuck up that market. If one company started paying drivers, you know, like me, I'm a contracted courier service. If one company started paying drivers 5 times the amount, it would fuck up. Like, people would be standing in line and waiting just to go with that one company and whatever, you know, whoever they're affiliated with. Like, only in boxing does it make sense. In that ignorant, blissful fan will get out there and say, "Oh, well, yeah, take it." I understand. Take the money. I mean, get your money, little. I always say, get your money, little duffel bag boy. But if I focus on the longevity and the sustainability of our sport, they are single-handedly, like, right after Turkey did his thing, after Eddie did his thing. So we went through Eddie, we went through Turkey, we went through the splash that Trilla and whoever these little off-brand companies, these fly-by-night companies who don't ever succeed. We went through all of that. And now Zuffa's coming in paying guys 5 times the amount, and we don't even know the opponent. Just messing up the market, just messing up the boxing market. You know, what the Aso Stain said, I think he threw that number out there though. But Aso Stain, we gotta ask this. With you being the guy, like, because they're treating this like, you know, just ride with me. I'm not saying it, but this is how the media's, they're treating this like the Floyd Mayweather moment. Like when Floyd Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya, even though Shakur Stevenson is not Floyd Mayweather and T.O. was not Oscar De La Hoya. But they're treating it like, okay, I have arrived. Just like when after Bud did what he did to Spence and then he went and did what he did to Canelo. He has arrived. They're putting him up there like he has arrived, just like Bud. Just like Bud. 3-time undisputed. They're treating him like that. Right? What would make him, what would cause him or be the motivation for him to turn his back on all this smoke over here if it wasn't an absorbent amount of money? Let's just say it wasn't 5 times. Let's just say that was a dig at Dana. Let's just give him. Let's just say it was 3 times. It's still times the amount. And then think about it. No offense. He can sell out in New Jersey, but he's not box office. He don't do what Tank do. What Tank sells out in Atlanta. Tank sells out in Barclays. He broke a record in DC. He sell out here. When I went to the fight in Royal Farms out here, he can go to Vegas and sell out. He sold out in San Antonio. He sell out everywhere he go, where it's like, no, it ain't, you ain't no room. Madonna came out. Denzel came out. Shakur ain't doing that. So let's just say 2 or 3 times the amount at this rate, what his pay rate is. Remember the offer, because it looked genius right now, right? Because we say 6 fight, 18 million minimum. No, that's just minimum. That means like bare minimum. So that's pretty much 3 mil minimum, and then plus whatever else you're gonna get, whether it's pay-per-view, whatever else. That's just the bottom line, like bare minimum. You walking away, no matter who the opponent. It's the same kind of shit that Bud had. Minimum. I think he was getting like 5. I think he was getting like 5 minimum. Well, Shakur was gonna get like 3 minimum plus whatever up, like depending on who the opponent was. Only to come back and fight T.O., who was already with Top Rank. Only to come back and was rumored to fight Morataya, who's already with Top Rank. And we can reason it would have probably been a Jermaine Ortiz, because Jermaine Ortiz fought T.O. Jermaine Ortiz got Loma. You don't think Jermaine Ortiz? I'm telling y'all, it was already a contract. Jermaine Ortiz said he had a contract with him on it. You don't think it would have been a Navarrete? Navarrete said he had a signed contract with Shakur name on it. He walked away from all of that. So what would be the motivating factor for him to go over to Zuffa if it wasn't an absorbent amount? Let's just say it wasn't a 5-time multiplier. Let's just say it was 2 or 3 times. But look at what they gave Conor Ben, so it ain't that unbelievable if you believe what they gave Conor Ben. What would be the motivation for him to walk away from all these big names, all these fights, to go over there and go over there with Zuffa? Unless that was already the plan, which we have been telling y'all. I told y'all that the Zuffa stuff was going to be the feeder system for the ring. And it's coming to fruition now. But we said this, a year? I don't know how long ago we said this. We did a segment. It's already on wax. I was saying, I read the article and explained like exactly how it was going to work. And this Zuffa stuff was going to be a feeder system for Riyadh and the ring and all that stuff. Even though that war stuff happened and all that, that might have put a little hamper on it. And so it muddied the waters. But like, unless it was already a plan, but there has to be some kind of big motivation for him to do this right now. Otherwise, why are people coming out with knives and pitchforks when we saying that Shakur is ducking? Cause what else do you call it? Maneuvering? Whatever nice term you wanna, it's like murder and manslaughter. It's not, they're not quite the same thing, but they pretty much the same thing. It sound better when you say manslaughter. But when I took my vehicle and just ran your ass over, and they said, "Oh, I didn't see you. I really killed you." You know what I'm saying? But it's manslaughter. So it's not ducking, it's maneuvering. What would be the motivation for him to go to Zuffa at this point in time with all these names and him having the juice right now and in Tank's absence? What would cause him to do that? He said, "Yeah, I feel you. I just think Shakur really is scary." He said, "Hold on, yeah, I feel you. I just think Shakur really is scary hoe. He gonna go wherever he can to get the most money to fight the biggest cherry picks. Dude is a fraud. Got his fans fooled." Amen, man. Where do I send my offering, ASO Stain? Where do I send my offering, man? I'm trying to be a little bit better because I don't want to come out like that's just my MO. I just hate Shakur. I don't hate Shakur. You know what I'm saying? I don't hate him. He got a family, he got a daughter. Beautiful little family and all that. I hope he get whatever he got. But like, yeah, I can't deny the man got some hoe ass tendencies, man. When you just really look at everything, all things considered equal, and if you use the same standard that they applied to Tank, it was like AC said earlier. If Tank didn't make the fight, no matter what, it was his fault. Like, it was his fault that Loma didn't pick it, and then they defaulted to Shakur, and Shakur was like, "Nah, I want multiple fight. I want a multiple fight deal. I need multiple." And then we found out that he did have a multi-fight deal with Eddie. So for Cordina, remember when he made that signing to go to not sign with Tank in the PBC and to not stay over there with Top Rank, he went over there to Matchroom. And his first fight that was on deck was Joe Cordina coming off of a knockout loss to Casey, which is not far-fetched because he fought Hartunian right after Frank beat him and dropped him. You know what I'm saying? He had a Schofield, but that was where he could have went over there to Golden Boy to do that. He didn't go to Golden Boy to do that. He got Zepeda. He got Zepeda because Zepeda was the mandatory, but Zepeda was about to be the mandatory. He was like number one in a couple different divisions. That's just the line he wanted to go in because the WBC for a lot of these boxers, that green belt is the most coveted. So that's how he got as a pater. He didn't have to go to Matchroom to get none of those fights that he wound up getting. And then it capped off after Padley, when Schofield fell out, he get as a pater, and then he doubled back around to fight Tio, who was with Top Rank. He didn't have to go to Matchroom to get none of those fights because he didn't fight Andy Cruz, who was over there. And we couldn't even ask for Andy Cruz versus Keyshawn. But that's that blissful ignorance that nobody want to talk about and nobody wants to highlight, but we know our shit. So
yeah, it's part of the blissful ignorance of, people want to cover the Shakur possibility of Shakur and no shot, and they talk about these dynamics and stuff like that, but they don't want to talk about the one and the most damaging incident and information that happened, and that's the fact of the WBC thing. And even when you bring it up to the heavy Shakurians, you know what they do? Oh man, you bringing that up? Oh, come on, man. And it's like, okay, but you haven't said anything to debate it, debunk it, or give a rational explanation of why that shit wasn't gangster, and why it. And tell me a reason, or tell me your feeling on how that does not make Shakur look good. How does that put Shakur in a positive spotlight to walk away from that situation? And then have Max Kellerman on the Ring magazine after they're talking about it with Teofimo Lopez on the joint. You're telling O'Shaquie Foster, if he's going to go up to 140, he should fight one of these two guys. Maybe he should go after Richardson Hitchens or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But you want to see Shakur Stevenson go back down to 35 to fight Morataya. When he said that at the end of that little short or that segment, I was like, see, that says it all. That is the waiter. When Max Kellerman said that, he was the waiter who went to the kitchen to get the steak from the chef and put the little parsley on it and brought it to old boy's plate and told him right there, may I take your order, brought his order back to him so he can cut that steak, eat it, and say, I know this is not steak. He's the guy responsible for all of that. And for me, when I heard Max Kellerman say that, my knee-jerk reaction was disgust. Like, Max, how could you possibly say that? Why would you want to see him fight Morataya at 35? And you're so adamant that you're trying to say nobody wants to see Shakur versus O'Shaquie Foster. You're talking like, don't nobody want to see that. People want to see, either O'Shaquie Foster versus Navarrete, who's clearly ducking him, and in each chance O'Shaquie get, it's like, look, I'm gonna try one more time. If that dude's not doing it, then I'm on my way to 35. Max Kellerman seems to be deathly afraid of O'Shaquie Foster going up to 135 pounds. Because then if he goes up to 135 pounds, you know what that does? It effectively bans Shakur from going back down to 35, becoming a weight bully. It's obvious he's always been, and always maneuvering and manipulating his fight so he has all the physical advantages and things like that, and catches people at the right time. And then he reaps the rewards of all of that, to whereas the perception is he just beat such and such. You were supposed to do that to that level of guy.
Yeah, because it's wild, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, man. I was out here doing videos, and I was actually out here advocating for Shakur. But when I think about it, when I was in the mode where I was advocating for him, it was like, man, I used to get played back in the day, but I can't help but remember how I got played, because he's been doing these things for a very long time. Because he ducked what's his name? Was it Josh Warrington or Frank? I think it was Josh Warrington. He ducked that guy. He ducked Mr. Gary Russell. He been ducked O'Shaquie. That's just like Lamont Roach ducked O'Shaquie. These guys so they play these games, and this is what's so funny. We know that Moritalia is damn near busting out the seams, and he's ready to go to 40. But he wants to fight him at 35, where he know he's busting at the seams. But then he wants to pull Oshaki all the way up to 40. And Oshaki like, look, I'll do it. And they like, nah, he don't deserve it. What does that do for Shakur's career? It's like, man, guys, are y'all boxing fans or bodyguards? But he's always doing this. Is either he rake you over the coals mentally. Because at first I'm like, okay, he using the sanctioning bodies, and that's how he wound up getting the belt. I'm like, well, you know, they say everything is lawful, not expedient, but he did go through the sanctioning bodies, and that's how he got Devin. And I used to always be against the argument when they were saying, well, all he had to do was take the 25%. And I kept saying, what 25%? Because Bob came on with like, what 25%? There was never an offer. It was like, so, you know, I was like, okay, I got to listen to Bob. And then the way, you know, the Devin only fans were saying, it was like, well, look, man, you can't knock that to where you getting ready to get undisputed for this. So just take the lower money or whatever. And I'm like, well, he went to the sanctioning bodies, and all he really got was like 5. He was gonna get what, 5? He was gonna get 30% instead of 25. So I was like, that was an excuse for Devin, because Devin was busting at the seams, but he wanted it at that point in time because why? Devin was busting at the seams. You talked about it. We used to always talk about how he looked like Skeletor at the weigh-in. So he wanted Devin busting out the seams at 35. He want Moritalia right now because Robert and them already said, we got one more fight, and then we're going to be moving up by the end of the year. We're going to 40. So he wants Moritalia at 35, but want Oshaki to come all the way up to 40 after he just dispatched your little mans. And now, I reason that he's the one putting this battery in Keyshawn back. I was coming up with a thumbnail for this. I said, man, this guy stay at work, because listen, he maneuvered the whole. Remember, it was supposed to be Richardson, Hitchens, and Keyshawn. They were the ones jaw jacking because they kind of don't like each other, even though they all in the they don't like each other. But it was either gonna be Richardson, Hitchens, and Jermaine Ortiz, or Richardson, Hitchens, and Keyshawn. He moved Richardson, Hitchens out the way and got his mans to fight with Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz had already had a signed contract with Shakur's name on it before. And he's doing it again now with Keyshawn going for Devin. So when you look at it, he got T.O., which was really Keyshawn work. Think about it. Think about the history. And now he's sending Keyshawn over there for Devin.
Yeah, and that's the part that trips me out, because, okay, let's talk about Mr. Davis for a second, right? At 35, he was the WBO champion. He got that belt, right? Then he lost the belt on the scale, had his crash out, and was rewarded the number 1 spot for the WBO title at 140 pounds. So he was given that slot, and you ask yourself, what did Keyshawn deserve to get that number 1 slot? So with that number 1 slot, he chose to fight Jermaine Ortiz, right? He gets that, then he chooses to fight Albright in his redemption fight to get back in good grace. You feel what I'm saying? So that a near fight where he got back in good grace because he won, he did his best to keep his cool, almost missed weight and blew the opportunity. Guess what he's rewarded with? He's rewarded with a number 1 spot at 47. Okay, so you ask yourself, what did he do, or what did he do to deserve the WBO number 1 slot, in that? And that's because what, Devin Haney called you out? Devin Haney said, let's be next. The crazy part is that, Manny Pacquiao and Teofimo Lopez. You ask yourself, how did Teofimo Lopez get the number 3 spot with the WBO when Brian Norman just came off of an impressive knockout? If I had to ask myself, who are the prime people to go over to Zuffa and try to make a fight with Devin Haney, even if Devin Haney drops the WBO belt? Keyshawn and Teofimo Lopez.
Well, Richardson, since he over there, that would kind of make sense. I think they probably need to get it on. You don't think they need to get it on?
Yeah, I think I think the fight is necessary, but I don't know if it. If you put a split and say how many fights is Devin gonna fight under Zuffa, what was his pay? No matter how you slice and dice that shit up, it's either he's got a 10-fight deal or 20-fight deal. It's some crazy number to make the money make sense. And that's just not counting anybody's pocket, but just playing the accountant bookkeeper role.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I'm putting money into it, what am I getting out of it? This can't be a money pit. And Zuffa doesn't show itself to be a money pit unless Zuffa and TKO Holdings are on some money laundering shit. And then that's a whole new set of accusations that'll come out from TKO Holdings. So
I think they on their last. I think they. Excuse me. I'm sorry, but I think they on their. I think they on their last little stash, like the last little. So if these little things that they doing don't work, then they're gonna be up shit creek without a paddle. But this is my thoughts as far as the WBO. When you ask that question about what would make him, I think these guys are kind of leveraging. I think in a small kind of way, I think they kind of got some of these sanctioning bodies by the balls. Because it's like, well, do we work with them and put somebody up there that we'll get this amount of bread off of it, or do we just say fuck it and be all the way strict and risk them running over there and us having to put that belt around somebody else's waist and we don't get, we don't even get a tenth. You know what I'm saying? A tenth of what we would have got. I think they playing that leverage game.
And to me, that's the go ahead.
Well, just the last thing, and with Keyshawn in particular, since he's still with Top Rank, I think WBO, that's always been whatever Bob orders. So he's still. So I'm thinking, okay, they leveraging a little bit of that, and they know that it's Keyshawn, so that's probably why they work with him on that.
Yeah,
getting that ranking. But I don't get it because you're leapfrogging everybody else, and it's not like Devin. Like when Devin did it, he was undisputed at 35, and he used his strap to go get Regis. This is different.
Yeah.
Keyshawn coming off of that debacle when he blew weight, they just put him up there the number one. Like he hadn't even really done anything in the grand scheme of things at 35 to even warrant that. But since he was the darling or whatever, the up and coming guy, Olympic gold medal, part of the Brat Pack, he did it. Now going up to this next division, he leapfrogging a whole, like the Tiger Johnsons, the Rohan Polancos, the people that's been putting in work in that division. He avoided all that smoke. No, he ain't had to go through no Hirioka. He got to see no Alberto Puello. Shit, I would bet money he don't want to see no goddamn what's his name? Sandor Martin. I bet money. But he leapfrogged everybody at 40, and now he gets number one at 47, not moving up with a belt or nothing. He just beat Jermaine Ortiz.
Yeah, so this is where I'm at with it, Body, when it comes down to the leverage. I would be sitting at the head of the table looking at him, and if you're going to try to give me leverage, then there's something I'm going to read off to you. Devin Haney. Not Devin Haney. I'm going to say Brian Norman. I'm going to say somebody like Vander Zayas. at the end of the day, we got to see what's going on at 160 pounds. But, you know, I would bring up a person like Hamza Shiraz, Dimitri Bivol, David Benavidez. You feel what I'm saying? Daniel Dubois. I would bring up these people to remind Mr. Keyshawn Davis that these guys actually move the needle. So who the fuck do you think you are coming into my office thinking you even got a paper bag to fucking piss in? Like, get the fuck out of my office if you think you're gonna leverage me. You or Devin Haney are gonna leverage me into giving you something that you don't bring it in. In fact, I'd rather deal with Brian Norman, because at least with Brian Norman, I know I'm gonna get a fight that's probably more than one fight a year. Number two, he's gonna go after the fights that overall bring me the same amount of money you do and is more consistent. At the end of the day, my organization existed before your little poor ass was fucking born, or your fucking daddy was born. So what do you think you're gonna come and leverage with me about nothing, to think I'm gonna write off some shit that undermines everything that my company's been working for? Everything that we brought to the sport. You got an organization that just been around for a hot 6 minutes, and you think that because they're willing to pay you money, that it's gonna get all of these other people to come through and fuck with you? Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my office. And I think for me, like, just being the businessman I would be and looking at how they're moving, I tell them, listen, you want to go over to Zuffa, go the fuck on. But you need to let me know right now. So listen, we'll write the terms up and we'll just remove those belts and have somebody who's more worthy of it, who's more worthy of acting like a champion that represents our company. Not one of these scared motherfuckers that's gonna fight every 12 to 14 to 13 and a half months. And then you're gonna choose some fucking guy that at the end of the day doesn't move the needle. Yes, you did your thing, Devin Haney, when you chose Brian Norman. But after that, have you tried to unify? Keyshawn Davis, when you was there, were you trying to unify? You went after somebody, De Los Santos, to pick up a beef that people were calling for Shakur Stevenson. Did you try to unify and give yourself leverage to make us say, okay, you're moving like Terrence Crawford moved? Terrence Crawford got that belt. He then becomes lineal champion. Then he goes up to the next weight class, represents our belt again, becomes lineal champion, and then becomes undisputed. Then goes to 47, takes our belt, has some title defenses against good names, you know what I'm saying? And then becomes lineal and undisputed. Then goes to 54, beats Madrimov. We give him the opportunity to use that leverage to go up to 168, and then he beats Canelo Alvarez. In that sentence, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is any of you young boys doing? But coming into my office demanding shit. You know what I'm saying? I would be Les Nessman, if I'm pronouncing his name right. You know what I'm saying? The guy that Tom Cruise played with the bald head when he was the guy behind the money in that war movie and shit. Les Newsman or whatever the fuck that dude name is. That's how I be. Curse your ass out 30 ways this Sunday. Like, bro, that shit is not happening. If you want to go over to Zuffa, go the fuck on.
You know what's gonna happen though. They gonna get their little money and they gonna laugh, but depending on if they burn these bridges and they really do this, where they do this Zuffa stuff, y'all better hope it work, and y'all better hope that Zuffa don't fall flat on their face, because I mean the way back, they not gonna just welcome you back with open arms. BCT, salute.
The only one, I just wanted to say that the only person that has an opportunity to come back, because his situation is a little bit different. It has different elements that says you may have known, but you weren't fully disclosed on what they did. And that's the reason why I kind of feel that within the Obadiah situation, IBF is trying to let Obadiah know, listen, there is a way back home for you. We left you within the top 5 of the IBF rankings. So you're still in the top 5, bro. We could have did you dirty and put you, 13th or not even put you in the top 15. But we left you at top 5, and the number 1 slot is vacant. The 2 guys above you are not the money drawer you are. So they're kind of signaling to Obadiah, there is a path. But you got to make that business decision soon, because we're not going to make it for you. We're just going to say, all right, bro, you're a horse. Here's water. What are you going to do? You look kind of thirsty. Are you going to drink or not?
Yeah. He probably got away. But let me touch on something real quick. Blessings, fam. Stopped in to thumbs up. Stay diligent. I appreciate you, man. Definitely thank you for the support, man. It means a lot, man. Thank you. We appreciate you. But let me tell you something, man. I heard the other day, and that shit kind of hurt my heart, man, a little bit. Shane Mosley Jr. They did an interview with Shane Mosley Jr. because he just beat Bodywork. And I was laughing about this because Bodywork got his ass beat by Brandon Adams. The people like Brandon Adams of the world, the Charles Conwells of the world, the guys that really got talent and really been putting in that pain. Shit, Conwell sent one up. They don't ever get these kind of shots. But like Brandon Adams stopped Bodywork and he beat him up on the Canelo undercard more recently. And he goes over there to Zuffa. Bodywork goes over there, and he got hands put on him by Michael Fox from the DMV area, right down the street. Well, he goes over there and Sugar Shane gets him, but Sugar Shane just got hands and feet put on him by a Jesus Ramos who was going through a lot of things prior to that fight. I didn't know. But he get hands and feet put on him. He goes over there to Zuffa and gets one of them Zuffa champions, and he was saying, yeah, they was asking like, how you feel, being a champ and this and this and that. He was like, well, I got to make history. He was like, it's something my father wasn't able to do. I said, something your father wasn't able to do, bro?
Oh, no.
They got you twerking like that? Like on your father was one of the most respected guys in the game when he was in his prime. A prime Sugar Shane was a bad man. So I was like, man, the money and then this title is like, but you got it beating Bodywork, who Bodywork been kind of ran through, bro. He had his moment with Virgil. Yeah, we think he won. He dropped Virgil twice. The judges didn't see it that way. We saw it like, man, Virgil, man, you lost. And Virgil, Virgil, one of my guys. I got no problem with Virgil. I actually like Virgil. You know what I'm saying? Great guy. Personally, there's nothing really not to like about Virgil. But for him to beat Bodywork and to get that Zuffa title, that strap, and then say, yeah, he was able to do something my father never did. But your father fought in the traditional. So they getting ready to, like, this is almost like, getting sold into slavery once again, where it's like people are just doing something strange. They on the first thing smoking, not knowing where they're going and what's going to happen. And they're just like Roy Jones and the outrage that he expressed. This is the epitome of that, saying, man, listen, there's tradition. Even when you listen to Oshaki here recently, he's like, man, no, he's like, because they were trying to ask him about the possibility. He's like, no, I don't really ever see myself doing nothing like that. He said it's tradition. He's like, I remember growing up watching people fight for these belts that we got. Like, no, it's tradition. It's history behind this and all that. And it's like people are just openly selling out, willing to shit on their own family names, like a legend in Sugar Shane. And how he fought, I don't recall Sugar Shane ducking no smoke. And the style, Sugar Shane was nice. But for him to say that, something that my father was never able to do yet, because this is the first, I'm making history. No, your father made history, and you wouldn't even have, it had to be some nepotism for some of them opportunities you got, because some people would never see the light of day getting these opportunities if you didn't have that last name, son. So that just it just let me know this is the state of boxing, and these guys feel like Richardson Hitchens. I heard somebody say that Richardson was like he was he used to make pennies and now he's getting millions of dollars. So people don't know what they talking about when it come to Zuffa. It's like, but bro, you could have got your millions. You could have got your millions. You didn't have to do that. Like Ja didn't have to go over there to fight Glanton. He was already the champion IBF.
Yep.
He was gonna get David Benavidez. That was millions. You could have stayed where you was at and just made a fight. You could have just moved up. You didn't have to do all of that, but like because you got millions and because you got paid, like it's a stunt now. So it's just sad to me how these guys are looking at it.
To me, and this is where I understand Ja's situation, but there's a portion of me that still holds Ja accountable because in one appearance, and this is where his situation is in a gray area. On one hand, it looks like you didn't know. On the other hand, it looks like you clearly ducked. And people always be like, I don't know. See, I don't know what you David Benavidez fans, how y'all feel Ja Obataia ducked. I mean, there is no way. I don't see it. And I say, okay, let me land the plane and I'll show it to you. Number one, to fight Brian Glandon. Glandon was ranked number 10. IBF let the fight go because they both were ranked under the IBF. He was ranked number 10. This is the IBF champion. When Zuffa made the announcement of their belt being on the line, and then Zuffa gave their belt top billing. When we talk about A-side and all of this A-side stuff, what does that tell you? The more important person is the person whose name is on top, his name who gets to come out first or second. That lets you know those type of things. And when Zuffa announced that they're fighting for the Zuffa championship along with the IBF championship, that right there raised an eyebrow. So within that space, you could have clearly made that fight within its own. Now, here's the caveat to all of that. The plan was, and you knew the plan when David Benavidez first announced that he was coming up to cruiserweight. The plan was, I'm going to fight Zurdo, and after I beat Zurdo, I'm going to fight Ja Obataia. That was the plan. Ja Obataia, you was ready for that. Your job was to fight the guy you just fought. And I'll get his name in a second, but that was Obataia's job. You feel what I'm saying? To fight the guy he just fought, not it was the guy before Glanton. And that fight set you up to be able to look good so you can fight David Benavidez. And that was that
yeah, I know that guy.
Hossein Klinkara dude. You feel what I'm saying? That's how that whole thing was supposed to go. That was your stay busy fight. David Benavidez is supposed to fight what's the name, to prove himself worthy of getting a fight with you, because you are the man at cruiserweight. So the biggest fight at cruiserweight was you versus David Benavidez. After you didn't look that good in that fight, although you got the stoppage, but you didn't look good. Between that guy and the Squaro guy, the Claudio Squaro, you didn't look good in neither one of these fights, although you got the stoppage. And it kind of looked like, for a second you were on your, how do I say it, worldly mission, to where you're looking bad, you're looking like the other guy's up, and you just pull it off in the last minute. That shows adversity and everything, but it even had you questioning some things. And when the fight was over, you didn't have an assuring sound. There wasn't a confidence that was there. There was something going on in your tone. And then we hear you signed with Zuffa to fight Brian Glandon. The math right there, being a fan of yours and looking at those two performances, and me and Body actually text each other after these fights and was like, yo, on some real shit, I don't know if he He ain't looking too good for David Benavidez if he gonna be fighting like that. Like, that's not a good look to be trying to go in there and fight David Benavidez after the role he's on. And we were talking about this shit after David Benavidez demolished Anthony Yarde. Because after he demolished him, you fought the Claudio dude. And then we compared those two fights and was like, I don't know about that one. There's something off. There's something off with him right there. So we'll just see what happens on the next one. The next one, you look even worse. And then that's then we have to look at that fight and compare that fight with the possibility of David Benavidez versus Zordo. And then we see that fight. And then it was just like, I don't know. I don't think Ja beats this dude. And then we hear about this. So in your own movements, you show a person like me, who's a fan of yours, that I lean more towards on you ducking. But I do kind of understand and see that dynamic to whereas this Zuffa thing was maybe to get you to fight Brian Glandon, pick up this little trinket, do something for your emotional support like they did with many other fighters when they're trying to rebuild them back. You feel what I'm saying? After some sketchy performances, you throw them a tomato can. Nobody was really cooking you on that. But then when everything happens and it goes down, it's like, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. I thought that's what he was trying to do, but that situation didn't work out for him and it cost him his belt. But prior to that, I still can't not look at the elephant in the room to say you had two sketchy performances, although you got the KOs. And your own tone was like, yeah, I don't think these two performances was on the level that has me with the confidence going into a David Benavidez fight that I'm going to beat David Benavidez. And in a fight game, you can't going in facing an opponent like David Benavidez with doubt. Because he's going to that doubt and he's going to beat you down. Go ahead, buddy.
You know what's so funny to me is the narrative behind it. Because we seen what happened with Devin and Rolly and how the media came out like, oh man, Rolly didn't want that. Oh, you trust the PBC? And now the narrative is like David Benavidez, of all people, David Benavidez is ducking Ja Batai.
Yeah.
It's a PBC thing, man. But to dumb it down real quick, I'm gonna land right here. But to dumb it down real quick, it's just like me and AC, we start our own league. And I was calling this out when Turkey was doing it. We start our own league, right? And then we grab Oshaki and we grab Kakesi and say, oh, nah, man, you fighting for the Bodywork belt. You know what I'm saying? Fuck all that other stuff, man. They on some bullshit. That's the equivalent of what they're doing. Like these people that's already accomplished, already matriculated up and through the system, already became champions. You're plucking these guys from over here and putting them over there and then saying, no, this is new. No, but you're plucking them out of an already established ranking system. That's the oxymoron in all of this. You're plucking these guys who already accomplished some things or rose to the rankings or high in the rankings or champions already. So they don't need that. The only thing you're doing is just I ain't gonna say overpaying them because you get what you're negotiating. Okay, if you got money to blow, money in a thing like Jermaine O'P, okay, cool. But that's all you're doing. You're inflating the market value by just ballooning up these guys, and then you're gonna leave them shipwrecked because there's history with what you did with MMA and all those guys that was unhappy. The reason why Ngannou was thirsting after, first it was Wilder he wanted, but he wanted to fight in Fury, and then he got knocked out by AJ. You know, the reason why these guys have been reeling over there, it's already empirical data that you can look at. Right now, you just got pretty much a damn near blank check, and until those funds run out, yeah, you're gonna be looking all good, but you're gonna shipwreck a lot of careers. And I always said this is really going to be with people with people making that transition over to Zuffa. It's going to be the loyalty test. It's going to be who's going to be loyal to the traditional sanctioning bodies, because if that failed, man, you're gonna have to come back hat in hand, and you're gonna have to hope that they won, and then you're gonna go through the ringer. You're gonna go through the ringer. Then you come back. Like, you're gonna start all the way, almost like how they trying to make it seem like these people like Brian Norman, all of a sudden he gotta work his way all the way from the bottom, and he shouldn't fight Keyshawn. Like, no, Keyshawn, no, yeah, Keyshawn should have to fight Brian Norman to get up there to Devin. Like, he shouldn't just, even though I'm not gonna get, because I want to see the fight. If Keyshawn do it, I ain't getting in the way of no fight now. Don't get it misconstrued. I'm not getting in the way. But the way they're treating Brian Norman versus how they treat Keyshawn, like, Brian Norman gotta start all the way over and work his way all the way back, and he's not worthy of this and he's not worthy of that. And that's why some of these young guys are going to look at things like what happened with Earl Spence and how he got treated after the Bud thing when he had 3 straps, and now Brian Norman, how he got treated, even though he didn't get like beat up like that. You know, he just got his strap taken and got dropped. But like, they're going to start looking at it and saying, why would I give an opportunity? Why would I dare to be great? Why would I, if I'm going to get treated like this? So we got to uplift these guys and keep these guys up on the forefront and keep talking about these guys and keep saying things to keep their names pushing. That's why we've been going hard for Shockey. That's why we was going for Sabril. That's why we've been pushing Gary Antoine. Why we pushing Abdullah, David and how he's moving, Bam and how he's moving. All these guys that's moving the way we need them to move for boxing to sustain itself. Because there's going to be no incentive at the rate it's going with this Zuffa state going on. And we don't even know where it's going. And I'll land right there.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this, just to piggyback off what you're saying. I'm going to ask this question, and to me the question goes like this. Who has left the UFC and WWE, went over to another company that was the UFC or WWE's rival, and the UFC welcomed them back? You feel what I'm saying? That's what basically these portions of the media are asking the actual sanctioning bodies to do something that the UFC and WWE, being that they're both merged now, and this merger is a nightmare. You're in a nightmare merger where your shareholders are suing you. You got Frank Warren suing you because he put you on how the boxing game work. And then you're trying to start a league. And you're trying to acquire big talent and make fights for big talent. And the person who taught you this game is suing you. And then you got an internal lawsuit going on. Bro, that shit's about to implode, and it's just like, if I can find that out, and that's public information. There are people talking about it, Ariel Helwani and many other people who cover the MMA space and the WWE space. You feel what I'm saying? If I can find that out, why couldn't your legal representation find that out and share that with you to say, listen, as the person representing you or your manager signing with this company right now, I understand the money, but I don't know what that does for you as far as fighting within the next 2 years, or maybe even the next year, because there's a lot of internal stuff that, I did my due diligence on the company, and I just see a lot of this stuff is sketchy. Like, how can they promise anything when the shareholders are suing the company?
That's deep.
So in that vein, what did you sign for? That's why, for me, if you still sign to a company like that, there is something you're ducking that's within the sanctioning bodies. That ducking that is worth the pause, and that pause is made to be a little bit sweeter because there's a large paycheck that goes with that. but I gotta fight the fights to get all of that money. It's not like they're giving me that money right now, and all I gotta do is wait for them to give me fights. So how does that work? I could promise Bodywork, yeah, Body, you know what? Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, if you continue with me as your co-host, I'm gonna pay you $100 million. Body knows the internal workings of AC. I'm like, okay, I know what you're trying to do, but where the fuck you gonna get 100 million from? How the fuck would I sign to it? And I know what you're trying to do. I know you don't got that 100 million. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm assuring this man that, yo, don't worry about it. Outside of everything else that you see going on right now, I'm telling you, I got that 100 million. So at the end of the day, bro, yeah, things is looking crazy. I don't know, where all of these signings go, but for right now, all indicators tell me that signing with Zuffa, you're ducking. Because again, it goes back to that article, it goes back to the show that we were doing when we were coming up with all of these ducks. What the fuck's a duck? And then at the end of the show, we read, one of the publications from a big publicator or whatever, and that article was saying the major wage fighters duck. And even in the what the fuck's a duck, this is still one of the ways that we know people duck. You sign to a different promotional company. And by signing to that different promotional company or different company period, it puts up the argument that removes all prior commitments. So you don't have to keep your word. I signed with Zuffa right now. Zuffa got their plans with me right now, and I got my plans with Zuffa. So why would I look back and fight Oshaki? Is Oshaki coming to Zuffa? Oh, wow. The same argument they're using with Benavidez. Well, it's the sanctioning bodies. For Oshak, it's going to be the sanctioning bodies. Is Oshak just going to leave the sanctioning bodies and come over to Zuffa and just, fight Shakur? Otherwise, Oshak ducking Shakur. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of weird stuff. And this weird stuff that's going to come out based on what we already know Obadiah is doing. Obadiah is setting the standard. He's setting the tone for all the arguments, for anybody who doesn't want to come over, how you're automatically going to be considered a duck. And for all the Zuforians, they're just going to ride with it. Because the Zuforians are happy with their guy going over there, fighting the cherry picks, and they're going to say, how is it a cherry pick? Look at the amount of money he got, so it can't be a cherry pick. And then we're going to look at them and be like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So now, if the bag is big enough, it's not a cherry pick. It's fighting for the bag now? Okay, keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. Because the more and more you guys move the goalpost, the more and more I have to question, what field are we on? Because the goalposts that I know that are on the football field have a certain amount of yards. It's a set number. It's a set space. Set parameters. Set tradition. This shit's been this way since the sport actually became a professional sport. It was set this way. The only thing they did was make amendments to how the players were paid and the health coverage for the players. Same thing with the Ali Act. Same thing with the sanctioning bodies. They added structure to something, set parameters. This is what we can do for you. We can't do this because then it's against the law. This is what you can do for yourself. You just don't have the ability to just go out and make a boxing match in a parking lot and the ring is four cars that are strategically parked in the square. So with that being said, bro, for me, if Zuffa was a person and the sanctioning bodies was a person, and this was a fight that, you know, we were doing a breakdown on who has what technique, footwork, and everything else. You know, the sanctioning bodies are not perfect. The sanctioning bodies have a couple of laws, but against Zuffa's inexperience, like you're trying to fast track Zuffa, bro, the sanctioning bodies is gonna stop this dude. The fight probably go about 3 rounds, 4 rounds, or whatever. But at the end of the day, Zuffa just don't have enough to keep the sanctioning bodies off of him. They just got too much hardware, too much tradition, too many people. And all of these young people who think whatever, yeah, let some of these guys who want to hide and, you know, would never really, whatever, they'd rather consider themselves commodities. Yeah, let them go over there. Cheer for them to go over there, because then that's what gives you room to now shine. Some of these fighters that fell by the wayside, Speedy Rashidi, Charles Conway, this is your path to get back, because once they get rid of all of these goofies, the real guys will be left over. And that's when we can get back to boxing. Because we got the Brian Normans, we got the David Benavidez, we got the Bands, we got the Shoes, we got, you know, we've got the guys that are out there that want to bring boxing back. The Oshaki Fosters and stuff like that are standing on business. They want to bring it back. So let the guys that want to be all, you know, Powerpuff Girls and shit, let them go over to Zuffa. Go. Fuck out of here. Because now we back to the grit. We back to the gridiron. Back to the, like, when a fighter says something, you know that's what's going to happen. So I'm you know, I'm a silver lining type of person. So even though my cook is completely against Zuffa, there is a silver lining to what you're doing. You're flushing out all the weakness, all the commodities, all the people that are fucking up boxing, because these are the people that the narratives and the politics are built about around. Let them all go over there. But what'll be left here is everything that we've always wanted in boxing. And the promoters see it, everybody sees it. This is why I think Eddie Hearn's attitude was so casual about Shakur going over there. It's like, yeah, he went over there. I wish him the best of luck. That's what a professional is supposed to do. But it kind of let me know that, woo, thank God he's gone. You feel what I'm saying? So that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. You know, I don't like Zuffa. I don't like what they stand for. I don't like what they represent. But I see you're performing a task that on the low I've been asking. On the low, all of us, you know, boxing enthusiasts been asking, when are we going to get past these dudes? The dudes that just want to protect their old. The old protectors. The guys that just want to fight the easy fights and have glorified sparring matches. To after every round they dapping each other up. So that's what Zuffa's job is going to be. Let it be. I may support you on that part. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's a guy that's holding up boxing through politics and he go over there, yep, that's another one down. Lets me know we're getting one more step closer to real boxing. And that's where I land my plane.
Great point, AC. Great point, man. That is, man. You dropped some jewels today, man. You dropped some jewels, man. I think this was a lit episode, man. Give a lot of people a lot to think about. And I appreciate it, man. I think you did good, man. In my opinion, you did great. So, yeah, I think this is one I'm gonna have to listen to the playback again, man, and soak it all in, man, and just think about it. But that's a good point. That's a good point. It's almost like the 300 on the movie 300, that hunchback, he felt teased. He felt teased, you know, he wanted to be down, but he wasn't 300 material. So he ran over there and did what he did, you know, and what he did was he tried to give the enemy the upper hand and all that. And yeah, he got some people fucked up, but really what he really did in essence was he was the catalyst for the soldiers from the 300 to get all the glory. So with all this weakness, all these, you know, monostat 7 type dudes that need all that monostat 7, but once they get out of the picture, the Oshakis, the Raymond Mortayas, the Abdullah Masons, the Frank Martins, the Tito Mercados of the world, the Tiger Johnsons, the people that really, Rohan Polanco, these guys that really want it, that's not yes men, that's not down with it, they get to shine. It's glory to be had. All they gotta do is stand firm,
Yeah.
and you know, and run toward the smoke. So great point, man. Good cook. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
definitely. And I appreciate it too, man. Thanks for the opportunity to give me the platform and the voice again. Salute to everybody in the chat, man. Salute to everybody that'll listen to this on the playback and everything. And on to the next one, buddy.
All right, man. Enjoy your evening, bro.
You too, bro.
All right. Another good one in the books, y'all. AC Cook, man. He left us with a lot to think about, man, especially the housekeeping, you know, and some things about Zuffa. You know, I really didn't want them to succeed because I mean, I'm like, man, this is the, you know, the evil that we know, which is a working evil. You know, the sanctioning body. Boxing been good when boxers, you know, haven't been on ABS. The sanctioning body's been all right. Have they been perfect? Are they still blunders? Yeah, they're ran by humans. It's gonna be human errors. It's gonna be flies in the ointment. You know, our job is not to be, you know, distracted and not to be bodyguards for these fights. We can express our opinions about, you know, what we think about it. Even when in one of the biggest things, don't be one of these people where it's like, why you want to see this fight, man? We already know he ain't gonna win. He ain't gonna win. It's like, well, when you look at this guy's track record, tell me one fight that he went in where he wasn't the favorite. I'll wait. So what's going to be different? Just because he's not, you don't think he's the favorite, you know, but when a guy earns a spot, when a guy, you know, works hard and does what he's supposed to do, and he, you know, holds up his end of the bargain, he operates with integrity. He checks every block that's necessary to be able to get to the next level. Like a G, he run through your obstacle course. You know, remember when that guy was sending people to go get cheesecake? He wipe the table with the cheesecake. He running, he go grab the cheesecake, he come back. He just want his opportunity. Don't be one of these people that get in the way and say, oh man, we already know what's gonna happen. It don't matter who you think gonna win. I mean, if it was based on who we thought was gonna win, this Mike Zanderman would just take his 2 belts and just give him over the boots and just go home with his check. They still gotta fight. We still got to see it happen. You know, that's why you get fights like what happened with Bakram Murtazaliev and Josh Kelly. It was inactivity there, but nobody saw Josh Kelly being able to pull that off. I mean, some of us still had Bakram winning, but like nobody saw him dropping Bakram and all that. But like, we got to see the fights. Do not be bodyguards. Do not co-sign the BS, especially if you don't know all the facts. It's funny how there's a lot of people that get online, they talk about boxing. I'm like, man, if you on here all day, every day, how do you have any time to sit down and research anything? You know what I'm saying? Where's the nutritional value in what you're talking about? Oh, that's right. You lie. You gaslight. You stretch the truth. You say that this guy, like when I seen, I got a little trigger because I seen somebody say that Oshak calls out Tank and all this. I'm like, here they go with this dumb stuff. Oshaki. I mean, unless it's some material out here that I just was unaware of. But Oshaki basically said, if I more than likely, with Shakur doing what he's doing, if he is going over to Zuffa and it's looking like that fight not gonna happen, he's like, man, I would want to Navarrete, but he's, we shook on it. Him and Navarrete shook on it, he said, when they was in Arizona. He's like, if I'm not gonna get that, then I'll probably try to get a Kakasi, and after that, I'm probably gonna be moving up. That's what he said. A reporter said, hey, what about Tank? He said, oh, I love that fight. That gets flipped over until he called out Tank. And people always like, Tank is inactive right now. We don't even know we don't have any concrete information. We don't know what's going on. Why lie? You know what I'm saying? Like, why gaslight? Why stretch the truth? Why even go there? Why throw shit into the community lake? You should be pouring fresh water in there. And if you resort to making stuff up and you always capping, you always gaslighting, you always saying things, and sometimes I see these titles, I see these thumbnails, like, I'm not even watching that. That shit, that's a lie. Let's not be fans of those kind of things, man, and say something. Silence is consent, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for men and women to remain silent. So we got to speak to the stuff that's not right. You know what I'm saying? For the vitality of the sport. Hopefully today you was able to put something in your rucksack, man, and march on with, man. I know it was a deep episode, man, and hopefully you're going to take this red pill. Zuffa has a place. It has a place for the people that, they can't really get work like that. Like, I think for Berlanga, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. It makes sense for guys like that. But, like, not for everybody. Not for the guys that really gonna put in that work and really, like, chase the smoke. It's glory to be had the way that we've been accustomed to doing. Not saying you can't go get your bread, because I know how times are, but, like, I know y'all heard that saying, all money ain't good money. Y'all remember, I'm gonna leave right here with this. Y'all remember when they were saying it was pretty much a curse on all that money went Riyadh? Because remember what was happening with all them people? Remember when Big Baby Gerald Anderson, he got caught at that dealership, that dealership trying to take that car. Remember what happened with Deontay Wilder? When they was getting that bread for a minute, like everybody that was getting that bread over there in Riyadh, something weird and crazy was happening to him. I'm not even talking about inside the ring. Now, we did see Jared Anderson, and he ran into Bacoli, but outside of the ring, weird things was happening once they got paid them checks. Don't take my word for it, but if you was around and you was watching, you would know. So all money ain't good money. You might be getting paid handsomely, but in this era, it's almost like people want to get overpaid and not even do the bare minimum what it takes, you know what I'm saying, and still want the glory of the gladiators of yesteryear. And that's not right. We can't put you up there with Roy Jones and Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, them guys, they got, everybody has some, a couple little moves here and there, but like traditionally, no. Not for what you're doing. Accolade wise, okay, yeah, cool, accolades, but like caliber and skills and all, there's no comparison. There are barely any comparisons. AC talked about in the housekeeping those indicators, but let's look at those indicators. Who have you fought to where once you, regardless of the outcome, you actually made them a star after you fought them? If you can't say that, are you a star? I think the word elite, he's a star, master class, like a lot of these things are overrated. And then the ones that actually exhibit those things, the ones that have star qualities, that are elite, that do put on master class, they don't even get the credit for it. It's just food for thought, man. Thanks for everybody that came through, man. I appreciate the support, man, and the people that's being vocal and just letting me know, let me and AC know and the channel know that y'all rock with me, man. Salute to all of y'all. Salute to the 300, man. We ain't going nowhere. Every now and again, we'll step back and do a woosah, but we do sit back and look and analyze and, you know, talk it and chop it up and try to come up with something that's creative, something that's original, something that's going to be thought-provoking. And for the most part, yeah, we joke around, but like, we know these guys get hit in the head for a living, man. We just be having our fun online talking about it. But for the most part, we're not boxer specific. We care about the sport of boxing as a whole. We want to see the big fights, man. Something got to be wrong with all boxing fans because we like to see people get hurt. We like to see people get punched in the ribs. You know what I'm saying? We like to see people get hit in the head. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we not happy if we don't see somebody get knocked out. Like, it's a sick thing going on with boxing fans, but like, that's what we like. We're not gonna get that with this pity pat and this fencing up, touch your navel, touch your belly button, up, poke you in your chest right here. We don't want to see that shit. So those kind of people, like AC said, man, y'all go ahead and go over to Zuffa, man. Hey, have fun. You know what I'm saying? Get your money, little duffel bag boy. Y'all know I can talk this boxing all day and all night. Melazar, salute. Appreciate you, man. But yeah, I'm wrapping it up, man. Y'all know I can talk this boxing all day and all night, man. Support the channel, like, comment, subscribe. I always say fruits and veggies, not that Reggie. This is fact-based content, not opinion-based. We say go where everybody knows your name, and they always glad you came. And they always sing your praise and then come over here and see what we got to say. Because we ain't going to put you onto that Zuffa steak. Y'all remember what he said? He's like, I know this is not steak, but it tastes so good. That's not us, man. We going to tell you that's some oatmeal. Those are some grits. And we just season them, but it's not steak, bro. This is what we working with. This is that real deal Holyfield. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to